Welcome to Cinema Gulp, everybody. I'm Ben.
And I'm John, and we just saw Suicide Squad.
And in this review, find out if this movie made us want to jump for joy.
Or did it make us want to kill ourselves?
James Gunn. What I thought walking out of this movie was this movie is the film representation of James Gunn's tweets 10 years ago that got him fired from Disney.
See, I'm not too familiar with what his tweets were. I guess they were
offensive, crass, crazy.
They pushed the envelope.
Yes. Yeah, and that's definitely what this movie was going for.
My biggest thought on this while watching it was, haven't I already seen Deadpool? This just has a lot more characters. It really, to me, just felt like it was just pulling from the same pool that Deadpool came from. I don't know. There's something about the way both Deadpool movies work with their humor and their violence that didn't hit as well with this film for me, even though I was entertained, but it didn't hit the same that I think the Deadpool films have worked for me.
I think right off the bat for me, I'm going to go out and just say that I'm still not sure if I liked this movie. Like, it's a well-made movie. It's got entertainment value. And I hate to start off our review talking about technical stuff, but my least favorite thing about this movie that kept pulling back things I was just about to fall in love with, and it was the editing of this movie. It was a super duper hot mess. Yeah. I've heard people who are even blowing this movie say that there is some jarring stuff with really unnecessary nonlinear structure that kind of took you out of scenes right at the wrong. It's really tricky when you do nonlinear. You got to do it at those right moments. And to me, things are building and building and building, and they pull you out of those things. And you're like, and it's not like I'm stupid. I wasn't scratching my head. I knew what they were going for. I just felt it killed the momentum of so many scenes that could have been great for me. And I know most people don't give a shit about that, but it did it so often. And I don't really know why this movie needed to do that, but
that stood out to me as well. Even in the first 20 or so minutes, I was like, man, some of this editing is not as fluid as I would like it to be. It just seems choppy, cut up more than it needs to be. And then even some of the nonlinear stuff, same with you. Like, it didn't lose me as to what we're doing in terms of the story or why we're jumping from one time frame to another, but it did seem a little unnecessary and kill some of the momentum.
Yeah, it killed some of the excitement. And I think a lot of the jokes that failed have a lot to do with the editing, because jokes are, you can deliver it perfect on screen, but the timing of the edit has to be right. And I felt that was off a bunch. But anyway, we both kind of agree on that. That was kind of a thing. That's one of those things while I was watching this movie, I just couldn't figure out why I wasn't enjoying it as much as so many other people seem to be. Like Guardians, it's no Guardians of the Galaxy, I'll tell you that much. Not even close.
I don't know if this is really something that is a knock on the film, because it's R-rated, so it needs to push that envelope and not be what Guardians of the Galaxy, being within the MCU and being a PG-13 film. This film had to be different in its depiction of violence and over the top, cursing and things like that. But it got a little bit boring as it proceeded. It was just like violence for violence sake. There were moments that were just so overly violent in this movie, where just so many people were being shot and killed all at once. It reminded me of the Kings. They have that slaughter in the church. It was just like, everyone seems to love that, and I just hate that stuff. It's just like, okay, how many people can we see killed? Just kill 2 people in a scene and make an impact with the 2 people you kill. Don't kill 500 in one scene. It just doesn't really do anything anymore. You just lose the effect.
It's funny that you bring up Kingsman in that scene, because the scene so this movie tries to pull a Monty Python Holy Grail, where the heroes go on a rampage, killing everyone in their path to rescue someone, and they accidentally kill all the good guys. I'm just gonna go. This is like a semi-spoiler. They killed all the freedom fighters.
I did. Their reaction to that, was pretty. But here's a point we were both making, Ben. Like, you got a chance to see this in the theater. Yeah. I watched it at home on HBO Max. I was questioning, would I be laughing at some of these jokes a bit more if I was with an audience? Even though I was entertained and found things humorous, there was rarely a moment where I laughed out loud. The one scene that I know for sure I laughed out loud was when Polka Dot Man was picturing the whole group as his mother.
I love that character.
There was a number of times where his mother is incorporated in the film, and those were pretty funny and entertaining, and almost, had me audibly laughing out loud by myself on my couch. But beyond that, other times that were humorous, like the killing of the freedom fighters, I did find that very funny, their reaction to whoever in the group was standing there when they finally come to the realization, but it wasn't enough for me to laugh out loud. I wonder if you getting the theater experience kind of had more of the jokes land because you had that audience experience.
Again, the theater experience still isn't where it needs to be as far as filling up. It's still not really filled up. But yeah, people were enjoying it, and I was definitely glad I saw it in the theater. But I'm looking up that guy's name, Polka Dot Man. I always forget his name. It's David.
It's hard to pronounce, I'm sure, unless you've heard it said a few times.
Yeah, but God, I want to give him due credit. But God,
interesting, quirky actor though.
I love him.
In a lot of fun little things.
I think that was my favorite character. Didn't have much to do, but the weird power and the backstory of the power and the mom thing. I would love to see a full movie. I'm serious. They could write a really good movie, and I could see James Gunn making that movie. I would totally love to see that.
I honestly thought that going into this movie, that he was a character that was not going to have powers and not really make sense why he's even part of the group.
Yeah.
And it was just the joke was going to be this guy is out of his depth and shouldn't be here. All he does is wear polka dots or something like that.
Nah, he's one of the
fact that he actually he's one of the few that actually had a superpower. The rest were just top assassins or whatever. I will say that the characters were probably my favorite thing in this movie.
100%.
There was a lot of fun to be had with numerous characters throughout the film.
Yeah, John Cena was a scene stealer. He was doing what he does best, which is the comedy with the menace, and it just works so good. And his approach to his actions, it's the scariest person in the world. It's like in Falcon and the Winter Soldier, the U.S. agents, they're just murdering people, but he does it it's price for freedom. I love that shit. He sees nothing wrong with it because he's doing it for his cause. It's great. Idris Elba was having a blast. I loved him in it, and I really loved the rat catcher. She was great.
She was good.
Good character. She was the thing that's, I kind of love it and I kind of hate it because I talked about the editing being, going back in time and why and all that stuff. I do think it is kind of funny the way we're introduced the very beginning of the movie in this fast-paced kind of way, the first group of the Suicide Squad, just to have them all murdered instantaneously. And I have no idea if Michael Rooker has any kind of power or anything to his character.
I kept waiting to see what was he capable of. And then I remember they established in the very beginning when he bounces the ball around his cell and kills a bird. Yeah. So it seemed like he was some he had a perfect trick shot or something, he could, I don't know, he knew how to ricochet things or something. Who knows if that was just how he was while he was in his prison cell or if that actually played into his power. But yeah, we never really get to find out. And I was a little bit bummed because there were people in that group that I wanted to see more of.
Yeah, I know.
I'm actually a fan of the Boomerang guy, even from the first Suicide Squad. He was one of the few that was it was kind of entertaining in that movie.
He was the one I was bummed out the most that he got dispatched so early, because that's probably the only thing I've ever liked Jai Courtney in, and he really is good.
Yeah.
And then they just kill him immediately.
And honestly, the Javelin dude, probably not a movie you've ever spent any time watching, Ben, but Pitch Perfect 2 has this guy as this German singing group that comes in. Yeah, the guy who plays the Javelin dude shows up in Pitch Perfect 2 and is a scene stealer with his same accent. And immediately when I heard him speak, I'm that's got to be the guy from Pitch Perfect 2. So I was I want more of this guy because he is such a scene stealer. With the way he delivers lines with that thick German accent is so funny. And at least they brought up his accent, but he didn't last very long in the film. His Javelin was pretty badass. I will have to say, if we're talking spoilers, there was I believe it's an escape scene with Harley Quinn where she uses the javelin was probably one of my favorite like hand-to-hand
Where
action scenes throughout the movie. And it was one of the few where the editing didn't bug me, where it was like, man, I'm losing interest in this fight scene because of the way it's edited.
Are you
That
talking
one
about
worked
when
pretty well.
she's manifesting the birds and the flowers and all that kind of stuff?
Yeah,
That was a really great scene. Yeah,
that was,
I agree.
and it reminded me a lot of typical James Gunn that we got from the two Guardians of the Galaxies, like where Michael Rooker's using the little his little arrow thing to dispatch all the guys on the ship and stuff like that, and it's flying all over the ship, like stuff like that. It was very similar to things we had seen in Guardians of the Galaxy.
He has fun with violence, and he's so comfortable expressing that. You know, like it's his trauma training. You know, it's like,
right. I forgot he comes from the trauma.
Yeah, that's his trauma training. It's like have as much fun and be as goofy with murder and violence as you can. And he really got to fucking take the car and drive it in this one, you know?
Yeah.
You know, while we're talking about characters, like, yeah, I'm with you. Like, I guess Nathan Fillion's character where his arms detach and he slaps people, that was fucking hilarious.
That was great. That was great.
Like,
and
he's like,
could
why
have
did
used
you
more of that,
because
there could be some great jokes all throughout the film with Detachable Man, but you know, I get
and
what I do love that intro. Like, as much as it sucks that you lose some characters that would have been fun to keep throughout the whole film, it totally makes sense. And the one thing that the original film didn't live up to, I don't even remember if any of the Suicide Squad dies in that original film.
One.
Thankfully, maybe one or two.
Well, Slipknot is the funny death that dies at the hands of like Rick Flag or whatever, but then they lose like El Diablo, the guy that blows fire or whatever.
Yeah.
But it's like, like this movie lives up to the name.
Lives up to the name. And this one did what I thought the original Suicide Squad would have been about as well. It's exactly what I thought the original would have been. Especially because, you know, I didn't watch trailers and things like that back in the day. Still don't. I fully expected them to be on some type of mission that's behind the scenes, not just downtown New York, the main, all eyes of the world watching this Suicide Squad go in and try and be heroes.
Yeah.
This is the way the Suicide Squad always would have been used, sent to some third world country to solve some problem that no one in America is even aware is going on.
Yeah, and that no good superhero would do because it's not a good thing. It's a cover up. Yeah, you're right. The first one, they're just like doing a heroic thing. It's like, why is Superman not doing this? It's literally that mission that a superhero is not going to be comfortable doing. You know, that's what it. Yeah. So, I mean, we kind of started out originally going like, I don't know what to think of this movie. And I don't love this movie, but at least it is a Suicide Squad proper, you know? And and the Weasel character is kind of funny because it's just like, what the fuck is this thing? And then it's just like, it just fucking drowns.
Did anybody check to see if the Weasel can swim?
And I love that Joel Kinnaman got way more to do. It was almost a total retcon of his character. He's very different, and I liked his character. I hated Rick Flag in the first movie. He was so stiff and nothing to him. He had I didn't know how much he was going to be in this movie because, you know, they're showing these returning characters and you're like, oh, they're going to kill off this person. The only person they're not going to kill off is Harley Quinn. But I thought Joe Kinnaman had a much better time. You could tell he had more fun. It sucks that he dies. It was kind of lame, but
yeah.
Hey, Suicide.
I honestly thought that the stinger at the end was going to be that he maybe was the one that had survived the whole thing somehow. Although it seemed unlikely, but I didn't know like if, maybe they're going to keep him around.
I don't know if people are going to hate me for this, but let's talk about, to me, the most unnecessary character in this movie, even though that we just talked about a cool action scene of hers. They had no fucking idea what to do with Harley Quinn in this movie. And it was evident as soon as that big dumb love scene music montage, I hated it. I was so bored. I'm like, what is happening right now? Like, I don't know. I mean, and she has funny dialogue and Margot Robbie's still so great as the character. Yeah. I just was like, what is happening? I don't know. Maybe that's just me. I couldn't get it. I liked her towards the end and I liked that they didn't use her too much. You know, like she just kind of popped in and did her thing. Cause at this point it's like, she's a roller skating psychiatric nurse or whatever. No, she's like a psych doctor. She's basically superhuman, you know?
Yeah.
It's like, I don't know. Anyway, what do you think?
That seems to happen across all superhero movies.
Yeah, you're right.
So many characters.
Black Widow is no longer just an assassin, you know, like she doesn't get a scratch on her, you know?
But yeah, like that's a great example. I wasn't even thinking her, but there's so many characters that don't have any real superpowers across all these superhero movies, but they're part of the gang. And they're just as indestructible as the people who apparently do have superpowers. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense. I wish there was a few of these superhero movies that really stuck to those rules. Like this person's got superpowers, they can take the punch. If the superpower person punches a normal person, it'd pretty much kill them every single time.
Yeah, that's why Hawkeye's always been handled so well. When he gets hit, he lays on the ground and like goes, ugh, you know, for like few minutes.
Yeah.
And his biggest heroic thing when fighting aliens is being able to like sword chop up one henchman alien. Like, you know, he's not going to be the one saving the day. You know?
Yeah.
But I don't know. What did you think of Harley Quinn though? Because again, I love the character. Just she didn't really fit in this movie for me that well.
I'm right there with you that they didn't really know how to use her. I wasn't really on board for the whole little love scene. I chalk that up to James Gunn wanting to fit even more music in this than he ever has in one of his movies before.
Yeah.
Which does play into the way the original Suicide Squad, not that
yeah, but that one, this one is so great, and the music drops are perfect.
Oh,
and
the music,
because you remember Suicide Squad 1, they handed off to a fucking trailer company and just had them put in these hits, like put an Eminem, put fucking Queen in there. Like this was James Gunn, you know, meticulously like selecting, you know, just like Guardians.
And it was great. Like I think there's some really fun musical choices and not on the nose as you would expect. I thought right from the start you had Johnny Cash. I was thinking about you, Ben, as soon as the movie started. I was like, I think we're off to a good start for Ben to like this movie. And that intro was still great. Like this, I think the second song is all the people you know who died or whatever, as it's showing the first group and stuff. So I enjoyed the
Jim Carroll band's People Who Died. I love that song.
Yeah. I definitely found, you know, the musical choices to be a lot of fun, but it was almost too much by the time you get through the entire film. It was just like you pointed out, the love scene turned into a little music video for a while, and it was somewhat unnecessary. So what about King Shark? What was your impression of him?
Everyone said, oh, you're going to fall in love with King Shark. I don't know. I don't know if I liked Sylvester Stallone's take.
If I can change and you can change, everybody can change.
I think
it would have been funnier if it was more like a fucking thing where he had almost like the Taika Waititi thing with that character from Thor.
Yeah.
Korg.
No, yeah, you got a good point there. If it was and Taika was in the movie, so why not just get him instead?
Well, I think that would have been too obvious, but something like that, you know, maybe like fucking Colin Farrell's like thick Irish accent or something.
What's that the other guy that's worked with Taika many times? Remain Clement or whatever.
Rhys Darby or maybe
Rhys Darby. Yeah, like especially being like a shark, New Zealand or whatever. I think that's where it faltered for me too, was the voice and whatever jokes were written, you know, with him supposed to be kind of stupid and not able to really follow a conversation or whatever. I think there could have been some more comedy mind out of that character that didn't really.
And I don't think he did enough. Like he's this big opposing scary image, and he eats a few people, but he's not that effective, especially when they're fighting like Starro at the end, you know, like
maybe it's too much to have like specifically have him do a scene where he's in the water and eat somebody, but I kind of
that would have been great. That would have been great.
I kind of wanted something where he was more of an actual shark in the scene and not just a.
And I liked Idris Elba, Bloodsport. I love his costume where like all these different things built in like manifest into cool guns. When you don't have a superpower, like that's a cool thing to have, to be either a villain or a hero or whatever, like because he's always pulling out new guns, you know, like from his chest or from the side, like so his costume is his power basically, you know, like
I'm sure.
Well, it's funny, it almost seems like Idris Elba, they intentionally had the backstory of his daughter, because that's the same backstory they had with Deadshot with Will Smith. The same fucking thing. You get him in there for the same fucking thing.
Well,
it's almost like it was written to be Will Smith's character, because kind of almost the exact same.
He really is the same kind of the same character, but they at least make fun of that idea. If you're, us as the audience is catching that and saying, hey, isn't this very similar to the Will Smith character? Then they one up it and make it really funny by having the introduction to Peacemaker be, oh, and this guy's special skills are da 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 da, and then Idris Elba's like, but that's the same thing I do. I thought you picked everybody for a very specific task on the specific role in the group.
I forgot about that line because that line made me laugh. That might be a shot at like Idris Elba being the exact same character that Will Smith was. I don't know.
Yeah,
that's why I love Polka Dot Man so much. It's like, what the fuck? And then it works.
Yeah.
It works when he explains it. Like if he doesn't discharge it, like his face gets all fucked up, and those things are fucking gnarly strong too. Like they're just like explosives.
Yeah. No, they did just enough with his character to let us know how it works. His little, quick line about where his mother used to work and what she used to do to the kids in the family and stuff. Like
it is funny. Like again, it's called the Suicide Squad. The movie had balls. It killed off a lot of people. And the way that Polka Dot Man goes out, it's perfect because it's just a casualty. It's not some heroic thing. He's just in the middle of like saying something and he just gets crushed. It's like, yeah, it's great.
The whole starfish thing. I don't know if I was grossed out or what, but that was one of the parts that the way they dispatched that thing with the use of the rats and
disgusting.
Whatever Harley Quinn, makes the hole for the rats to get in. I don't want to give all the details of what happens, but it was very Men in Black, but obviously Men in Black is a PG-13 film. So it was Men in Black pushing it to the extreme with even more gore and violence. And by the time you got the rats inside of that thing eating it, it was really gross. I felt like
it was trauma. Like it's basically like you said, it's Men in Black, but it's not a funny bug exploded and we're like, it's gross. I mean, there's a lot of close-up shots in the texture of the skin of the Starro thing. It's really hideous.
Yeah.
So when the rats in the close-up of the rats eating it, and it doesn't look CGI in those moments, it looks kind of textured. It looks like it's there, so it's just disgusting. So I agree with you. The marketing was good on making, look at behind you. Like those characters are never, a bunch of them, they're not all on screen together at the same time. They don't even know each other exist. So I guess they did a good job of like just dispatching of that first group. And it's kind of funny. And I didn't think that didn't work. My problem was the way it kept shifting with the structure and going back nonlinear. And some of it worked, but some of it didn't. But I guess it is, when I think about it now, it's funny that there's two groups and you don't know there's two groups in the marketing, like they kept that contained. And then when they kill the first group, you're like, oh, okay.
Yeah, no, that worked for me. I hadn't seen the marketing, but I knew that some of these actors were involved, or even like I had seen Michael Rooker, and it's like, of course, Michael Rooker's getting an opportunity to be, a big character in a James Gunn film. We always expect to see that at this point. So the fact that he went out early, it was like, okay,
and does nothing
to the title. People are not going to make it through this movie as much as I think they might.
Yeah. He literally does nothing. He just runs away. To keep this review positive, we just concentrated on the characters more than anything else, because that's the strong point for sure.
I think so. There's definitely some fun stuff with the way that James Gunn does direct certain scenes, delivers certain moments of humor, implements music. It's all very typical of what we've seen him do in other films. I didn't hate the movie. I just didn't have like an experience of like, this is a standout of the crowd. It just still felt like another comic book movie. And there's just so many at this point that it didn't have its own identity. Maybe if we didn't already have Deadpool at this point, this would really be standing out as like, wow, they finally made one with all the violence and pushing the envelope with these characters cursing and stuff like that. But I really did just have flashbacks of what I've seen already from Deadpool while watching this. I almost expected him to come swinging through and make jokes as well, because that's kind of the way the characters were.
Whether I loved it or liked it, it did exactly what it was supposed to do, because when you're watching it, these these people do feel like they're the bad guys asked to go do this job. Where the first one, it's just like, why are these guys even like supposed to be the villains? Like none of them act like villains.
Yeah. Half of them were trying to find redemption throughout the film. Like, let's do this for my daughter to show her I'm a good guy.
No
like,
one
what?
gave a fuck about that in this one. And that's what's so great about it.
You had Idris Elba immediately telling his daughter, fuck you, fuck you,
Yeah.
fuck you. I'm not your fucking father. I never wanted to be like.
Yeah. Oh, and we didn't talk about Amanda Waller, who, again, like, I love that she's like the evil, bitchy Nick Fury, where she puts these teams together, but she's just a horrible person. Like, I love every minute of when she's on screen.
I feel like she would have got up based on the character they presented in the first film. She would have got up from being hit in the head with a golf club and murdered everyone in the room.
Absolutely. She was. I don't really get why she just kind of let that slide, because there was no like consequences to that.
Like maybe if they had more of like they just restrained her or something, but to actually knock her out with a golf club, using violence, I think she would get up. Or maybe it's just a joke for down the road. We're going to find out that everyone involved in this film gets dispatched by her by the next film. Because that was her MO in the first film. Not that it does feel like it's definitely a sequel. I'm not sure their mindset of like, did we reboot? Is this a standalone first film and you're supposed to not know about the other one?
Total sequel. Like Harley Quinn sees Captain Boomerang. Hey, what's up, Booms or Boomer or whatever. Like, I don't get why people are like, oh, it's a soft reboot. No, it's a different tone. It's a different director. It's now R-rated, but it's definitely the same universe. You know, like it's definitely the same.
Comparing the two films, this one is great compared to the original. The original is almost unwatchable. This is at least entertaining.
Oh, and it's one of the best DC EU, if it actually is one of those. I would definitely say it's probably the best one of those. I mean, I can't think of one that would, well, maybe Shazam, I don't know, but no, I mean, if we're ranking it with some of those awful movies, then this is definitely the best one. Suicide Squad did not make me want to kill myself. I didn't jump for joy, but I enjoyed it. I enjoyed most of it. I had some problems, and I hate saying this about a James Gunn movie. I had more problems with the filmmaking than I did with like the characters. You know, that's rare.
Definitely. Yeah. I agree with you. There was definitely some stuff that stood out to me, some camera work that was just trying to be all over the place, too flashy, and some choppy editing, and it did hamper the entertainment value and the driving, motivation of the film. It was just a little bit like, by the end, I was just like, okay, finish this up, wrap it up.
I'm not gonna go as high as like, maybe some people that know us would expect. And I did enjoy the movie very much. We just talked about it, but I'm gonna go 6. I'm gonna go 6.25 gulps.
That seems fair.
I'm throwing the 2.5 on there just because I love so many of these characters, and I would love to see them in other things.
Yeah. I would be there for a sequel, especially if some of these characters could return. Obviously, not all of them survive. So for my gulp score, I've been pretty harsh on most of the movies we've been seeing over the last year or so, the ones that are new. And this one probably is one of the better ones, at least. So I'm not going to go as low, but I can't go too high because it wasn't that memorable. So I'm just going to be middle of the road. I'm going to say this is a 5.5.
Okay, that was our review. Thanks everybody for watching. Click like, subscribe, leave some comments, tell your friends, share this bad boy. John, where can they find us?
Check us out on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Look for us under Cinema Gulp.
For Cinema Gulp, this is Ben.
And this is John. And we drop dead for your cinema.
I drink it up!